Hi, welcome to episode 10 of the American Tributaries podcast, where to break out of the bubbles we've all been living in these last few years, we are using modern technology to explore the various currents of people in our great country, kind of like a Lewis and Clark expedition in the 21st century. I'm your host, Michael Whidden. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by Njekwa Beasnael. Close enough.
Sure.
Njekwa and I got to know each other back in, I think, 2012 at a wine shop in Grand Central Terminal. And I think I always enjoyed a lot working with you there in particular. And then we reconnected back in 2020. Njekwa, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. My absolute pleasure to be on here with you.
Yeah, this is great. So you're also working in the podcast. I guess so. You're working in like digital media world right now with the wine and hip hop. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yes, with a company called Cru Luv, and then one of our medias or mediums, we could say, is Wine and Hip Hop, the podcast,
Okay.
blending the two worlds together just in a seamless and very exciting way.
That's great. And how did you get into the wine world?
I got into the wine world actually through high school and things from a background with the French culture. I went to tastings. I've just always been around it. But in college is when I really decided to really dive into it and learn more. I had a mentor there that really just opened up the world for me. His name is Chris Taylor. And that really, skyrocketed the journey for me.
Hmm.
And so I guess that's been going on since I've been in it for about 20 years now in the
Wow,
business. Yeah.
that's a long time. I did it for 12. I was in and I'm out now.
Yeah,
So
smart man.
yeah. So 20. It's amazing how much you can learn and how much you can learn about what you still don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. And the people that you meet is just always a lifelong journey, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So did you grow up with like wine in your household, or were you
No.
kind of going off going renegade?
Yeah, no wine in the household. My parents didn't touch any alcohol or anything. But
Mm.
yeah, it's just I went to private French school. I was around French people all the time. So inevitably wine was popping up. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's how I got in touch. Yeah.
And was that like, I guess, in your like earlier than the age of 21? Like, was it just kind of, yeah,
Hmm.
okay, I see.
Yeah, this would be in my mostly like in my junior high school days,
Uh-huh.
in a French school in Texas.
And they were letting you guys drink wine, or it just
We
kind of
weren't allowed
came
to
up?
drink it. Yeah, there were some kids that got to drink it with their parents, but I
Uh-huh.
didn't.
Uh-huh. We've always tried not to like not to demonize like the wine in the household. So like I think we've offered opportunities, not like at any age, but it would be like, if you want to try, you can go ahead, because
Yeah,
I I think that the wonders and the beauty of wine was never about like the intoxication. It was always about really like the flavors, and in some respect to me, it was just kind of like a meditative thing. Like if you just tune out all your worries and
hmm,
everything and just kind of zone in on those like most primal of senses, it gets to be not just like a beautiful, potentially transcendent experience, but also very kind of calming to just have everything focus on that.
yeah,
Sense of
that's the
taste and
key,
smell.
isn't it? I completely
Yeah.
agree with that. It's a way to really kind of get away, and with that, you can like travel to different places and just that meditative state, and really enjoy the beauties of wine. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
it.
Yeah, and I guess the stories you get are when people, or when you think of even like, oh, I'm gonna have this wine from Tuscany or wherever. It's, it doesn't even matter if it's really true. Sometimes I think it just matter if like your mind is going to your imaginary version of Tuscany or Champagne
Exactly.
or wherever.
Yeah, and it's so much fun, right?
Yeah. So what was like, was there a first like wine for you, or a wine experience, or was it just kind of like a mentor? Like what was it that kind of like drew you in like irreversibly, where you're like, okay, I'm in.
It was a mentor that really had a beautiful and poetic way of speaking about wine, but it's also very direct and not confusing. So it just started with him just telling me about things, and then after we started tasting a lot more wines, and then one night I was working at a restaurant and in college, and we did a Leroy, I should say, tasting, a couple of verticals, and that just blew my mind.
Yeah.
And to this day, so I mean, Burgundy is my favorite. I'm still chasing that that
Yeah.
experience,
Well,
Yeah.
and I guess it's, I mean, and really, I guess that chase will never end because there's always
It
going to be
will. It will
something
never
more.
end.
Thank
You're
you.
right. Yeah, a lifelong journey for sure, and that's
I,
great.
I think about like what the wine shelves looked like at Grand Harvest Wines when we met back in
Yeah.
2012, and think about like how much the wine world has changed now in terms of
Oh
like
man.
natural wine and pet nats, and there's
Exactly.
definitely a lot more options out there for the average consumer.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's open it up. Listen, it's all about. I think I like about wine. It's supposed to be. What's the word I'm looking for? It's to include people, right?
Yeah, yeah,
A unifier in a way.
yeah.
Hmm.
Do you, now, do you I guess in what you guys are doing with like crew and with like the wine hip hop is you're kind of, are you creating an audience, or is there an audience out there that has never really been like, has never really been kind of addressed from the traditional wine world,
Yeah,
or is it
I
a little
think
bit of both?
the audience is definitely there. It's just
Uh,
kind of been neglected in a way,
uh,
or I don't even know if neglected might be a harsh. Well, no, neglected. Yes, they're
mm,
just never looked at as maybe viable or that people might be interested in it. And so now it's just to make it just shining a light on that,
mm,
is that it's for everybody. It can be for everybody. It is
yeah,
for everybody, you know.
yeah,
And it's trying to change that narrative.
yeah. And
Hmm.
when you're talking to people, because I know, like, so what is it that you guys do? So, like, there's crew and that's like the umbrella, and then you've got like the one hip hop podcast. What are the other elements that you guys are doing, and where is it that I guess you have the opportunity to kind of really kind of broaden I guess, broaden in the active engagement with an audience that has been neglected for so long?
Yeah, sure. I mean, right now we use a lot of social media
Mm-hmm,
mediums like Instagram and such. We have Wine Hip Hop, which is a podcast, and we also
mm-hmm,
do like a version of it, which we put out a video. We also have something called Tasting Notes from the Streets, where it's blending, introducing wine and foods from like I said, like the Bronx or Harlem, like food from the hood. And just putting that and highlighting that, and that's a lot of fun. It gets people's eyes open. They're like, oh, I never thought about putting this food and this wine together. Well, it's like, try one with any kind of food you're eating, put anything together.
yeah.
So yeah, the
Oh,
audience is there. It's just right now we're trying to just open it up, and we have a bunch of different initiatives that are coming on. We've put on a couple of events where we kind of bring to life the Tasting Notes from the Streets episodes that we've done, and those have been a huge success. um, it's incredibly fun. It's incredible to see it, just people realizing that yes, this works together as well.
yeah,
It's not supposed to be just for that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always, to me, there's the basic things that I think you get even in like the formal wine circles where it's like, oh, fried chicken with champagne, or to me, I
Hmm.
always think about like lambrusco with like a hamburger, or champagne with like
Yeah,
the
which is
hot dog.
beautiful.
Yeah, but I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's really just about kind of pairing flavors. So in that respect,
Exactly.
once you embrace the kind of broader overarching concept, I mean, there must be just an amazing amount of opportunities for unexpected pairings, and probably even
Absolutely.
more mouth-watering pairings that are out there now.
Yes, exactly. I mean, think about the world of food. It's always, there's your staple is always evolving though. So people are going to be creating more stuff, and wine is going to be there. Wine is evolving. It's a living thing. So it's a big, big, big open area that just needs to be addressed or given its due. Is what I
Hmm.
should say. Hmm.
Now, your background, did you were you born here and grew up here? Did you move here from at a certain point?
Yeah, I came to the States when I was 9. So born
Okay.
in Chad,
Uh
grew up in Ghana,
huh.
sometime in France, here and there in France,
Uh
and then Texas.
hmm.
And then after that, that's cool, and then moved up to New York. So I came to the States when I was right about 9, 10 years old.
Okay.
Hmm.
So there. I mean, I would imagine like kind of just delving into the cuisine at home must be really exciting for like for yeah.
It's exciting and it's daunting. I'm still trying to figure that out yet. I'm going back through like my mom's recipes and things, and I'm thinking about different wines. Now I compare it just because that's the job that I do, but there's also that thing of holding it so sacred where you don't want to make the wrong pairing. you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, one of the things that I found like for in the best time for like exploring wine pairings is when you have like a lot of bottles of wine open. So like what was
yeah.
fun is like as a wine distributor was like when I was out, you'd have like six bottles of wine. So you had more of a chance to kind of play around with whatever was at the dinner table to see what was
Hmm.
best. It might be a little bit harder unless you have all those bottles open, but man,
Hmm.
I would I'd volunteer for that if you're gonna ever be testing out.
Let's do it, man. We're gonna have a little dinner at home. You should come over.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
see. I think I see a book opportunity for you too.
Oh, now you're talking. Love it when we get together, man. Opening up my mind all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you could do like Chad. I mean, what's the like the adjective for Chad? Like for somebody from Chad or food from
Chatting.
Chad? Chadian.
Hmm.
Okay, so you could do like a
Not
Chadian.
Chadwanese. I was called that once. I was not
Oh.
right.
um, but you could, yeah. So there's lots of exciting opportunities. But you've raised, I guess, something that I guess for me, I guess really kind of been motivated to explore more of with this podcast, which is that idea of, I guess, the different worlds and the bridges. And it's like what your work is right now is kind of building a bridge between. I mean, is it accurate that you're building a bridge between like kind of the wine world and like the Black American community, or is it broader than that, or is it just what's the initial focus of it?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. That's the initial focus.
Yeah.
I think the funny thing is that the Black American community, the culture is intertwined with everything that we do. But for some reason in the wine world, it gets taken out. Um, I guess you see things and it becomes more like Hennessy's prevalent like cognac and things like that. But I think a lot of thing that comes out, it gets associated. Let's see, what am I trying to explain to them? I have to go back and think on that one. Let me have you repeat the question again, and then
Okay.
I'll get you.
Well, I was saying you're building bridges, and I was asking if it was accurate to say that what you're trying to do is to build bridges between like the wine community and at least to start with the Black American community, because I mean, a lot of respects. I would think that the tone of what you're doing isn't just reaching out to Black Americans, but it would really be to anybody who perceives wine in a certain way and never thought it could include them, right? I mean, so I
Yeah,
think it's not just that, but I think
mhm,
the tone is trying to get people to think about wine in a different way. And
absolutely. And within that, we can go in so many different directions and things that you can do if you want to like build communities and such. But yeah, I mean, it's just in the name, right? Wine and hip hop.
yeah,
So what
yeah,
we focus on is wine, and we focus on hip hop. If you like
yeah,
wine, you're gonna like it. If you like hip hop, you're gonna like it.
yeah,
Put them
yeah,
together. I mean, those are beautiful conversations.
yeah,
Hip hop is being listened to by any and everybody.
yeah,
It's not just for one certain kind of community. So
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And do you find, is there a certain, well, I guess when you're talking to somebody who hasn't really been like, is not well versed in wine, and like, and I think that I guess the issue with anybody is really like if they've never had something, you're kind of confronting either caricatures or just like something people haven't looked at it. So there's a reason why they haven't had wine. When you're talking to somebody about this, or maybe when you go to one of those local restaurants where they're like, why do you want to do this with wine? Like, what is the kind of resistance you usually see, and how do you like overcome that? How do you prevail upon them?
so far I have not seen any
Ah,
resistance. Right?
mm-hmm,
Everybody's just kind of open to it. They open their
mm-hmm,
eyes like, oh wow, yes. Why didn't we look at them together? And
yeah,
it's just becomes like I said, a very good conversation. But what it is just very exciting. Is an opportunity to really teach.
yeah,
That's what really gets me going. And
great.
the response so far has just been so encouraging, and it just makes you want to push harder.
Mm-hmm. Is there any wine that you have found that is, I guess, that has been like that's the real kind of like bridge, like the kind of breakthrough wine for people, or is it just kind of any pairing that you guys present, which I'm sure is like totally
Yeah.
spot on?
Not anyone directly, but it's been the experience and the pairings
Yeah.
um, that has just gone on without a hitch. And we spend a lot of time trying to make sure we get the right wine to go with whichever food we want to do, especially for tasting those from the street.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so there's that experience of it that's really, I think, will be the
Mm-hmm.
highlight. Well, for me, and I think for anybody else, yeah, that experiences it.
No, and I guess like for me, what I always wanted to do whenever I had a chance to engage people with wine, and it sounds like what you guys are doing, is it really? I mean, you want to teach people just to kind of give them information that they can go out with, but my sense from you is that it's really about just kind of getting people to kind of come away from either whatever they're watching, listening to, or eating and drinking, experiencing, like with just kind of like an oh wow thing. Like, yeah, like that
Hmm.
was really cool. I want to check this out on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you said. And my main thing I think I have through this whole time is one word that keeps coming to mind, and that's community
Mm-hmm.
and fostering that.
Yeah,
And that's your favorite thing, my
that's
most
great.
exciting thing about it. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
you, I guess, in your life, like you straddle like a lot of different worlds, right? Because you
Yeah.
have your family at home, which has and your own like upbringing, early days in Africa. You've got
Hmm.
your French connection. You grew up in Texas, right?
Yep.
And
Hmm.
then you moved to New York, and now your wife and your other half of your new family is up in like Montana.
Yes, exactly.
So you've got like six different worlds that you have to kind of that you walk around in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much fun. There's always something to do.
Yeah. So and I think like and we've had these kind of conversations in the past, but I think like one of the things that and that's what this podcast is trying to address is kind of getting people to be able to engage others in outside their bubble.
Hmm.
So I guess for you, because I mean you're living this far more than like I am, like how have you been able to kind of like bridge all those different worlds, like when you go to meet your girlfriend's family in Montana, or like when you first came to the States and you're in Texas, like how have you, I think it seems to be how have you been so, I guess, successful at navigating and immersing yourself in these different worlds.
Yeah. I think I was lucky as a kid. My parents always presented us with different options or um, different situations, different people. And so for me, when I travel or if I go to somewhere new, I have two things I try to keep in mind is to first is to be open, and then second is to listen. And that's the key factor for me. Listening is listening just opens up a relationship so fast instead of just going there and just bombarding people. Like go somewhere open to learn what they have to say and listen to what they're saying and engage in it. And that is the way I've been able to navigate and been okay with all these different things that keep popping up in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you was that something that came naturally to you, or did you have like some like bad incidents where you're like, oh, I should change my ways?
Yeah, I think it kind of came naturally, but
Mm-hmm.
also growing up, my dad always was telling me, one day I told him, Dad, that is the strongest guy ever in the world. And Dad, that's the smartest guy in the world. He goes, son, it's always going to be somebody smarter. You just do your best, right? So I'm just looking for other people that know more and teach me so that I can really, really enjoy this planet.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but and I think that other part of it, it makes life like I see it with my kids, and I mean, and it's natural to kind of like measure yourself against other things that are out there, right? Like the kid, if you have six kids racing, and the kid who's slowest, oh, he's the slowest. But like I try to tell my kids, like you got to look at other things. Like I really want you to compete against yourself.
Hmm.
So there might be a fast kid who wins that race, but really
Hmm.
the winner could be the slow kid who ran 5 seconds faster than the first time he did that race, like at the beginning of the season or something, because
Exactly.
that's really who your competition is.
Exactly.
And it sounds like that you take that to the next extreme to just be like, you're just learning. It's not about you trying to be the best or do whatever. It's just absorb what's
Exactly.
out there.
Yeah. And if you know something, then somebody may have a different way to look at it, a
Mm-hmm.
different version, so you
Yeah,
understand it better.
yeah.
You know.
So what was it? So when you did you live in Chad and then Ghana and then France and then move to Texas? Is that what your first like 9 years of your life were like?
Yeah, first 9 years of life was we left Chad because of civil war. Then
Mm-hmm.
pretty much grew up in Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was also in love with French culture, with school and such. Then a lot of extended family there,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, and then we came straight to to Texas from Africa.
Okay.
Hmm.
And how so you were 9 when you moved to Texas, and you were there until after college?
Yes,
I'm judging by the
yes,
Texas A&M t-shirt you're wearing.
yeah. We got a game tonight. They're coming to New York for a game, so I was
Very
excited. I
cool.
haven't seen them in years.
That's great. So, I mean, what was it like as a 9-year-old, like in a new continent, new country, Texas? Like, how was it to get acclimated there?
It was it was good. It was exciting.
Hmm.
There's a couple of things that we really liked. First of all, Texas was warm, so
Hmm.
I was we were happy about that.
Uh,
And my parents gave us a lot of things just to be excited about. I was excited to see smoke come out of my mouth when it's cold because I haven't been in that cold
hmm.
weather in those times, only in movies.
Hmm.
So I had that, and then just experience with different foods and just like I don't know if you think it, but I think Americans have accents, from growing up over there, but not now. But when
Hmm.
I came over, I was like, man, this is a different way of speaking. So it was a whole central assault, you can say. And for me, it was great. It was great. I mean, there were times, and then obviously when you get in school, you meet other people. Not everybody's super nice, but initially, I just absolutely loved it.
Hmm. And was there certain things um I think for my wife's family, it came from Taiwan, and I think they had a caricature of like the typical American meal is like potato, steak, and whatever. Were there
Mhm.
certain caricatures that you were expecting that you were surprised weren't that way, or that actually ended up being the way you thought? Like what
Yeah.
was that like as you're learning about your new home?
Not food wise. For some reason, I was excited to taste pizza here
Hmm.
because I just didn't see myself going to Italy or anything for some weird reason.
Hmm.
But also, what I do remember is when we first came here, got off the plane, we went to a barbecue and had hot dogs and hamburgers. I didn't need any expectations for that. That was just delicious.
Hmm.
I have those, those first things that you taste that you love. Like I remember my first chocolate chip cookie, But food wise, I didn't have that many expectations. My mom was always cooked at home, so you know, at home we always ate where she cooked. Once in a while
Hmm.
she throw in some American food, but yeah.
And like a community of other like folks from Chad in where you settled, or what was
There was
that
a
like?
couple here and there. Yeah, there were a
Hmm.
couple of people from Chad, and then just different African communities around.
Okay.
Hmm.
And then you grew up there. You go to Texas A&M, and that's
Woo!
where you also started doing like you got more into restaurants and stuff like that.
Yeah, I started working in a
Okay.
restaurant, and boom, then the wine really started going.
What did you study at A&M?
I studied international commerce, French, and music.
Okay. So you covering all your bases,
Yeah,
and
college
you're
was
using
fun.
them.
I'll just stick around and do things.
Yeah. So have you gotten to visit to many like wine countries? Have you gone back to France, or have you been to any
No, that's
place
coming
else?
up soon. The whole New York life kind of kept me here.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's going to be coming soon. I did go visit Spain, which was amazing. Gratalops.
Hmm.
It's such a beautiful region, and the wines that they're making are powerful and it's just beauty. Hmm.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite like wine? Do you have like a wine library of different books at home?
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
I have various. Well, now I'm looking at my um, cooking books, but one of my quintessential ones is the Wine Bible, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
It's great, and then I got my encyclopedias and a couple of other ones into terroir and stuff like that, that I'm really, really enjoying.
Hmm.
Broadbent does a lot of things about science of tasting. Those things are really, I kind of geek out on that.
Yeah. And then like for you guys, so since you're engaging like new wine consumers, is what you and Jermaine are doing, is that something that is meant to kind of be like a guide for information about wine, or is it more meant to kind of get people excited, and then you kind of like what would you suggest to somebody who wants to start learning about wine? Do
Yeah.
you guys have material, or do you have a website, or what books are your favorite? The Wine Bible, it sounds
We
like.
don't have any kind of learning materials yet on the website, but it is
Mhm.
a way something that we are working towards. A bunch of initiatives that are coming.
Mhm.
Can't announce them all yet,
Mhm.
but that will be something that will be available to people coming
Okay.
up. Hmm.
You guys will be busy.
Yes, yes, and that's good. I like it.
And do you guys, are you New York based? Are you doing things in other, like outside the city or in other cities? Like
Yeah,
what's
the
your
company is New
geographic
York
reach?
based, but we're doing things all throughout the U.S. We're
Hmm.
gonna do things in Europe as well,
Hmm.
and just keep going wherever we can and reach people. We'll go.
Hmm. And
Hmm.
how about, do you find that the wine produce, I guess the production part of the wine, because you're trying to, you're reaching out to consumers and new consumers, and then you also have then like the producers and the distributors. Do you find that the producers are, interested in engaging you guys to like broaden? I mean, is it, I mean, it seems to me to be a slam dunk. Of course they would, but you never know when you're taking this kind of arcane trade and trying to redirect it in new directions. So
Hmm.
how has that been getting people?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I feel, I've felt good response, and I've seen excitement for our product. Um, it's very engaging. It's very exciting, knowledgeable, and people see the excitement. People see something new, and they want to be part of it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So we just
That's
want
great.
to, yeah, keep presenting it to whoever. Hmm.
That's great. Yeah, and the thing I think with wine is that wine in and of itself tastes. I mean, it tastes fine. It can taste gorgeous. I think it's that pairing with food that kind of really makes it. Like I always refer back to like the ratatouille scene where the rat talks about how like
Yeah,
cheese
man.
tastes good, strawberry tastes good, but you bring them together and you get these explosions. And to me, I
Exactly.
think that's where. And I think what's exciting with what you guys have kind of have at the very beginning of what your project is it is kind of pairing the wine with those foods and all those different kinds of foods. And I think about
Yeah.
even like the Texas cuisine and stuff and barbecue and like how like amazing it would be for people to have that first, I don't know, whether it's Burgundy or Oregon Pinot Noir or Champagne, like
Hmm.
it, so much, there's so much opportunity to expand the
Right.
appreciation for this stuff.
Isn't that so amazing? I mean, I'm sure you've seen it when when somebody has that aha moment, like, oh,
Yeah.
and it's like, yes, this is what we're talking about. It's
Yeah.
so amazing. And on top of that, with the way you said it, just reminds me that we're also pairing people and souls together.
Yeah.
Creating opportunities for just humanity. It's
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, I think the key, just wherever we might stand on any number of different topics, you should be able to sit across the table from somebody and share a bottle of wine, or if you
Absolutely.
don't drink, a good bottle of soda or whatever,
Mhm.
no alcohol, but yeah, just sharing the
Yeah.
table.
If you're hungry, you're not gonna say no. Hey, are you hungry? You want any milk? You're not gonna say no.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, yeah, let's sit down. Let's just eat. Let's talk. The
So,
table is always a great place.
so when you're up in Montana, you're recently married, correct?
Hmm.
Newly married,
Yes.
and you got married up in Montana.
Yeah, it was cold.
What was it that, what's the temperature there in the December, I think it was, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think they were down in. It was cold. It was in 20s, maybe, I think.
Uh,
But right after that, I think they had some days that were -20 and
oh,
stuff like that. So
oh.
yeah.
So you can definitely see your breath.
Oh yeah. I think I've had enough of that.
The coldest I've ever been, it was like 0 degrees, and I felt like the inside of my nostrils getting cold, but I've never felt -20.
Oh
So
man, I would say that's all right. The coldest I think I've ever been was swimming in a glacial lake,
uh,
and my legs stopped working. I had to use just all upper body to just swim back
oh
to
my
shore.
god,
I wasn't too far from the dock, but it was like instant freeze.
was this in this past
This was
December or
actually in the
another time?
summer, a
Oh
couple
my
of years
god,
back. Yeah,
wow.
uh, they say
So
it's
what?
not cold, but I think the water's cold.
What's the food like in Montana? Like, what do people eat? It like, what is it? It's an ignorant question, but like, what a
Yeah, it's American food, man.
yeah.
And especially the areas that we go, a lot of ranches and stuff. So we get a lot of steaks, burgers,
Mm, ah,
but yeah, steaks, burgers, and your quintessential like American cuisine.
yeah.
That's what's found there. That's,
Is the beef fresher when you eating it closer to the source?
Man, it's so good.
Really?
I don't think I can do it justice just telling you. You have to taste it.
This is-
I'm gonna have to get you some. Like, yeah, man.
You're torturing me a little bit here.
Yeah.
It's almost getting a little X-rated the way you're talking about it again.
I had to check myself there. Yeah, man, it's delicious. This beef
Yeah.
is what's supposed to taste like. It's so good.
And is there other wild game up there that is like readily available or that you go hunting for or
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's, I mean, of course, deer, elk. I'm huge hunting over there.
Mm,
It's delicious.
yeah. Yeah.
Birds, deer.
Yeah. It,
Yeah,
it seems almost like, I mean, I hope every time you go you have like a little like suitcase dedicated to just wine, like you're coming with your like case of wine, like all different kinds to go with all different foods.
I should do that. I need to figure out just to ship like cases and have it there for for the stay, and then
Yeah.
I can do little classes or something. That would be fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Could be a business write-off.
there you go.
What's the community like? Your family up there? What like is it a big town? Are they often like a ranch?
So my family lives on a ranch next to a small town,
Hmm.
which is next to a big town.
Hmm. Uh,
But I'll tell you what, salt of the earth, the people,
hmm.
super sweet.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
was it it's thing like Texas and Montana are like I don't know. This is for everybody who's not really. I have not traveled as much in the country as I should have. They're both like in the middle of the country. Are they vastly different? Are there things where you're like you see there's a similar like cultural code or like what is it like for you going between the different
For me,
worlds?
with people, I have a belief that people are more alike than they are like than they're not.
Uh huh.
And so that's what frames my interactions a lot. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier. There's just people there who do things in a different way,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
And that's it. For me, that's the difference. Of course, the beliefs and stuff come into different areas of wherever you are.
Hmm.
Uh, but just understanding that somebody might like to do something this way rather than that way, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe when they're changing the tires, if it's like all four tires, maybe they start in the back instead of the front. Just that's what I've been noticing more and trying to frame that into contextually into what's going on and everything.
Yeah. Interesting.
Mhm.
So, I mean, so the basic thing for you, and you've touched upon it one way, but another way of saying it is like you view people with listen, be open minded, and really almost in more generally just start with the idea of like we have more in common than we don't, and
Yeah.
when you start listening, and you have the open mind, that only kind of reaffirms that.
hmm And it's so easy to think also like just to think about it. Let's say somebody goes, "Oh, we have nothing in common." I go, "Well, do you both have eyes? Do you both breathe? Do you both smile? Do you get sad? Do you get happy?" There's so many
Yeah,
things that you can list right off the bat that you already do.
yeah, yeah.
Um, mhm.
And even like the idea of like food, like on the one hand, I think once you get past of like what you're used to eating, if you like to eat, just try this, and like
Right.
you start seeing like things taste good and different things can taste good, and
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
even comes up with like sports and even a lot of things like that. Sometimes it takes a little bit of work, but if you can appreciate one thing, you can appreciate another thing, and even if you can't,
hmm
at the end of the day, it's just people trying to have fun or relax or
Yeah. Sit down and experience it.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know. Yeah.
that's interesting. What what would you say like when you up in Montana? What like were there things that you had never done before that you were doing? Was there I don't know hunting or is it like I've what was it like there? Like what is
Yeah.
this is the difference? But it's a different context for sure. So what's
Talk
that
about
different
ranching.
context? Uh-huh. What does that
Or
mean
I
exactly?
shouldn't say that I ran. I stepped
Yeah.
in and try to help.
What does
you
that
know,
mean exactly? 'Cause, like I hear ranch, but to me that I just picture a big, huge field and I don't know bison and cattle running around. Is that what that is?
24/7 and a lot of hard work.
Really?
So family comes, they're cattle ranchers,
Hmm.
and so but it's like you're on pretty much 24/7,
Really?
taking care. of everything.
Hmm.
You know, like make sure you have enough food. You have to deal with weather. You have to deal with. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert rancher, but from seeing the things that I've seen and just
Hmm.
the hard work that gets put in, it's mind blowing. But we do that, and then like to drive around and see the scenery. I mean, it's just so beautiful.
Hmm.
Just your mouth is just dropped wide open once you start seeing everything, and I like the tranquility also.
Hmm.
You know.
And what are but now to go down to Texas? What are your parents like do, and like what's their setting like? Where were you growing up in Texas?
Oh yeah, we were in Dallas. My dad went to seminary in Dallas.
Okay.
So initially that's where we came to the States, and then now my parents are missionaries and they're back
Okay.
in Chad. But yeah, but I grew up in Dallas, right in the city. So
Uh-huh. Okay.
hmm
How often do you get to see your parents since they're back in Chad now?
luckily I just got to see them the wedding, but usually, I mean, I'm lucky if I see them like every 2 or 3 years or something like that.
Hmm. And when
Yeah.
did they move back to Chad?
They've come back and forth a couple of times, but I mean they've been back officially in Chad. It's been a while. I can't remember exactly.
Okay.
Well, they moved back officially like around late '90s, early 2000, but they've been back and forth. So
Hmm. Okay. And have
yeah,
you? How often have you gotten back there?
I've only been back once. Yeah.
Hmm. Wow. And what
hmm
was that like?
It was interesting enough that I was gone for so long that I stepped off the plane and it just felt like home.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow.
Yeah, you see like familiar faces, and then you hear people speaking your language, and you're wondering what's going on
Uh-huh.
because you're not used to that anymore. Like, why?
Uh-huh.
How does he know? Oh, yeah, this is where I am. But and just straight off, first thing it just felt like home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I lived in Japan for 3 years, and there's a smell that I had to Japan that I associate with, and it may not be I would it might not even be accurate, but there was a smell as well, and I feel like whenever I've flown to different areas, there is a smell. Did you get
Mhm.
that as well? Like just kind of it it smelled like home.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. It was in the air, just weather,
Mm.
people, scenery. It's funny that you say something of a smell. Is that that's the way I look at I've been to many remote like villages in South America, obviously in Africa, um, and there's a smell for those areas. It's not a bad smell,
Mm.
you know. It's just kind of, but it's the same smell, and
Mm.
that's another thing that leads me to the thing that I was saying earlier that we're just so more alike than not, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't really know how to describe it, but yeah, that's exactly. I
Yeah.
agree with the whole smell thing. hmm
Well, it's one of the blessings I think of being in the wine world is that you have really the luxury and the professional responsibility to be in tune with your sense of smell, because I think so many people that's just not what they're doing. They're running around answering, if you're like my wife, hundreds of emails during the day and going from one meeting to another and running
hmm
around. And when you're in wine, it's like, okay, I have to sit here and do nothing and just smell this and wax poetic on the different things that are
All right.
coming to my mind. It's a
Exactly. I know. Yeah, we kind of tend to go through the world, smelling first.
yeah.
That's fun. Like one of I love going to farmers market,
Uh-huh.
and everybody thinks I'm weird because I'm always like smelling everything.
I always thought it would be fun to like just kind of buy a bunch of different flowers and actually smell them, because when you're doing like tastings, you might talk about whatever violets or whatever, and but I was like, I don't think I've ever actually stuck my nose into a rose in a long time, but I keep
Oh
saying it
yeah,
smells like rose petal.
that's funny. I think, yeah, you should, yeah. I think that maybe I was supposed to do this because when I was younger, first it was because it was in Texas and it was hot. But I used to just in the grocery store there would be like a flower room. I just like to go in there to cool off. But as I started doing that as a kid, I started smelling the things. And I found myself always going in there and just smelling the different flowers. Just be like, huh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
was maybe it was a what's the thing? Not premonition, but what's the word I'm looking for? A sign,
Uh, it was a sign of what's to come.
things to come. Maybe who knows?
Yeah,
I'm reaching there,
yeah, yeah.
but it's a fun experience.
So, if you could be jetted off to any wine area in the world, um, today, where would
Burgundy,
you go to? Burgundy.
yeah, man. Easily.
You didn't even let me finish the sentence.
Nah, there's no need to finish that. I got you. Yeah.
What have you been to Burgundy yet?
No, I have not,
Okay,
and
okay.
it's coming soon.
Yeah, is that right?
Very
And
soon. Very
you'll have to
soon.
be there for like a year or so. You have to go on like sabbatical.
Hey, if you say it, I'll do it. Listen, he just said it right now, and now I have to do it.
Yeah. Just tell Jermaine you got to do like a residency, or you're gonna start up like a satellite office there
It's not a bad
on the
idea.
phone.
I'm gonna put you in through our phone calls.
Lots of ideas here.
Yes, I love
In
it.
addition to that episode when you go back to Montana,
Exactly.
and the
Yeah,
episode of probably where you should go back down to Texas, go to your old stomping grounds.
let's do it all.
No, my wife would certainly say I have too many ideas, and I probably do. But I think if you come up with 100 good ideas, there'll be one or two that are like really worthwhile and world
Yeah,
changing.
why not? Right?
Yeah,
Doesn't hurt.
yeah. They And what with Burgundy, was that like an obvious, like, how? I mean, because on the one hand, Burgundy is a classic answer. On the other hand, like, Burgundy is not inexpensive.
Mhm.
So like, to I guess really appreciate it, you have to have, like, the knowledge and the opportunities to taste those kind of things. So was
Exactly.
Burgundy always been like your love? Was it love at first sight, or is it something that you've
Yeah,
evolved
Burgundy
into?
was love at first sight. And then right when I started drinking Burgundy, I was talking about earlier, I got the Leroy dinner,
Hmm.
and it just blew my mind.
Hmm.
And I mean, I like all wine. There's just something about Burgundies that I don't know if it's that first experience that really like the light bulb, or, but it's just insanely tasty. If you find a good one, it changes your life.
Hmm.
And then like going back and reading about this Pinot Noir grape and just different. Not to start a tangent on this, but I'll stop.
No.
Because you could. I'm just more than any other times. I find everything that I'm looking for in the Burgundy. From
Mhm.
acidity to fruit to body.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. What I love when we were talking about like that kind of sense of community and whatever is I'm picturing like the people in Burgundy and like the people that are like even like kind of just taking care of the vines or planting the seeds, and then they're
Hmm.
harvesting the grapes and the whole process there, and then bottles ending up here, and then it could end up in an episode with you and Jermaine at some like Jamaican restaurant or something.
Yeah, man.
And that's I mean but I think that's the beauty. And I think when we talk about like what all we have in common, it's like there's so many different links that we all share. And I
Absolutely.
think that's I always find like the most kind of like heartening thing is, instead of looking at the things that differentiate us or
Hmm.
whatever, it's like, man, look at this, we're just like everything's connected, even
Commonality.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean that's
Yeah.
pretty, yeah. So
Yeah, it's funny. My last name is Baesneal. We were talking. It's actually means universal relativity. So like things are not equal, but yeah, it's also teaching about the commonality of things. Like it might be different there, but we are still human beings.
yeah. No, is there any wine categories that you would like to like delve more into that you just haven't had the chance to yet?
To delve more into, yes, I have had this whole resurgence with white wines
Hmm.
and yeah, Austria. I really would like to spend a lot of time studying that a lot more.
Yeah,
I've had some really good Austrian wines. Yeah.
yeah. That's a good call.
Hmm.
Um, I've always been curious about. I think, and I think I've seen little bits of it, but I would love to delve more into sparkling, like method champenois from America, like traditional method sparkling wine,
Mm-hmm.
because I always find like they're the knee jerk to celebrate anything like Thanksgiving or anything, usually the default is champagne, and like champagne is that's the pinnacle, right?
Yep.
But I've always been curious about like the people that are making like the really great American sparkling wine. And I think I had like Cruise once, which I thought was really good, but
Yeah.
I just have never explored that enough to even know what's out there.
Yeah, I need to dive more into that. But I just remember seeing that I went to some tastings where different states will had really, really nice renditions of some good sparkling. Like in college, I came across some New Mexican ones.
Yeah,
It's delicious.
yeah. I
Hmm.
think Gruet makes a lot, and I've seen some in
Yeah.
California,
Hmm.
and I think like pet nats and the natural wine movement or trend is also kind of like change mix things up so that maybe there's other people experimenting and doing things in other
Hmm.
areas. So yeah,
Yeah.
kind of cool.
And I think it's for people that are getting into wine, also just diving into that champagne world is something that it will teach them a lot. If people that really want to learn different nuances of different wines and stuff, I mean, really following champagne, I think is or sparkling,
Yeah,
very interesting, and you get a lot of knowledge from it for sure.
yeah, and also talking about like the different, I guess how the shelves at a wine shop 10 years ago look compared to now is that I know for sure like the sparkling wine options 10 years ago versus now, it's like worlds apart.
Oh yeah, it was like maybe like you give yourself like
Yeah,
two shelves or something.
yeah,
Now you have like big sections and walls dedicated to that. It's
yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah. It's a good time to be a drinker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you had said I think you have other things to move on to, so don't want to
Hmm.
like I have to free you up for those other things. But I always like to kind of wrap the show up with just asking about like like what gives you hope at the end of the day.
What gives me hope? What gives me hope is that a lot of things are more visible now, and there's so many different ways for expression. And I'm seeing, even though what's being blasted out usually nowadays seems to be the negative, what I'm seeing in the background, the groundswell, the movements that are happening are people getting together and talking, seeing what they can do to make things better. And that's what gives me hope, because there's that desire from a lot of people to talk, and I will jump at any opportunity for that.
Yeah, well, thank you for very much for jumping at the opportunity to chat here.
My absolute
Yeah,
pleasure, Mike.
and
My
and
absolute
and
pleasure.
and every time I think like when we first met, way back when, there's I talked to somebody who said like for him like the way he judges a wine shop is like if he just walks in, he wants to see how the coworkers treat each other.
Hmm.
You don't even have to look at the shelves to see like what wines they sell because that's not really important because if people are respectful of their colleagues,
Hmm.
they'll be respectful of like everything that they're doing, or they're more likely to at least. And like for me, I knew whenever I was at Grand Harvest and did lots of like in-store tastings during rush hour and stuff, like you were always it's not even like on your A game. It was just you were always present. And like you were there physically, you were there
Hmm.
mentally, and you were on top of what you had to do. Moving, getting bottles, grabbing bottles, taking care of
Hmm.
people, talking to me, helping me. Like, so it was. I'm so grateful that we got to meet. Then that you had the time to talk to me while I was doing my thing there,
Yeah,
and that we can get to continue the friendship 10 years on. So
it's
thank
gonna
you.
continue. I always enjoy talking to you, and
Yeah.
you always remind me to look for opportunities.
Yeah.
And I thank you for that.
Well, you sounds like you've got a great one ahead. So I wish you the best, and I guess a belated congratulations on your nuptials.
Yeah, thank you. Very exciting.
Yeah. So and we'll be in touch. So thanks
Listen,
so
I'm
much.
looking forward to following everything.
Yeah.
Love it.
Same here. Same here. Take
Have
care,
a great
Jekka. Good
day.
talking with you. You too.
All right.